Welcome to Dr. Jester Rants, and I'm gonna rant about this from Vice, the hidden destructive legacy of Duke Nukem. That's not how I would paint Duke Nukem, but sure. Okay, let me entertain this idiot. Well, after all, it's Vice, so you kind of expect a certain type of failed, nonsensical bullshit from this article. So, on that note, by the way, I'm still using my tiny little screen, so it's not the best thing around, and I probably should have checked the sound if my fan blasting in the background won't actually cause any problems. Yeah, it seemed fine. Either way, the screen is still not here, and since Sunday is tomorrow, that means it's gonna take a while. It's probably on Wednesday or Thursday that I'm going to see it. Either way, let's go before I start sneezing. Anyway, here is what this idiot said. Duke aged poorly, and so did the game starring him. But we're still stuck with more clever imitators. I disagree, because Duke Nukem is still one of the best first-person shooters out there, especially in interactions. Duke Nukem Forever took forever to be made because of development hell and things like that, and mostly because the developer wanted to keep adding stuff that were first pioneered by other first-person shooters, and oh god, I'm gonna have to sneeze, damn it. 1 second. Low production values, and because Streamlabs doesn't have a fucking pause feature. There you go. I think I'm through the no. Not yet. Well, anyway, if you don't mind me talking like this for a little while, it's because the developers wanted to implement some features that were pioneered by other first-person shooters. For instance, driving on interesting mechanics that you can see later on. Oh Jesus Christ! I sound like an SJW. I think we are going. I think we are doing. Okay. Anyway, and so that took forever, especially in the interaction system, but let's go on. It's 25th anniversary of Duke Nukem 3D. You knew that, right? Yeah. With everything else going on in the world, I'm sure you had marked this on your calendar. It was one of the iconic video game protagonists of the 90s. Oh, by the way, this is from February 1st, and yesterday, one of my beautiful fans, who kisses my boots-ish, I wish, but still, either way, he suggested this article to me. And, it was painful to read. I'm gonna have to blow my nose, aren't I? Bullfuck. And there is no pause feature in this bullshit of Streamlabs. Why can't you just be like a normal little feature like OBS? Can't you? God, filthy crap. I mean, I didn't even get the pleasurable experience of sneezing, but I got all the downsides of sneezing, which is having to blow my nose. Thank you, Streamlabs OBS, for not having a pause feature, because editing this is gonna take a while. And I'm not doing it. Either way, Maybe not as famous as Lara Croft and Solid Snake, but certainly on the list. But you remember the game. Even if you didn't play it, you remember the commercials, the red shirt, the sunglasses. You remember him lifting one-liners from movies like They live, an army of darkness, and literally shitting down the decapitated throat of a defeated boss. I think this is mostly on Duke Nukem Forever, because I don't quite remember seeing this on Duke Nukem 3D. I don't remember. I played Duke Nukem 3D quite a while ago. On that note, it means that I have to actually download the mods and play it again with the most flashiest and most newest stuff around, so it means I don't know, good thing that I have the Megaton edition and not the SJW5 20th anniversary release that Gearbox released a while ago. They took down the Megaton edition to release that one. Anyway, you made space for all of this on your brain. I'm sure alongside the memories of Titanic and the Clinton impeachment, Duke Nukem was a thing, maybe not the biggest thing, but a thing, and remained a thing for years to come. And all its thingness cannot be ignored, so here we are. God help us. God help us all with this shitty article. Anyway, let's jump on to the most important bits because of the tiny little screen. Anyway, Duke Nukem Forever was released in 2011. I already explained why. His status as a forerunner to more subtle forms of masking toxicity with humor is worth unpacking. What toxicity? I actually loved it. Duke Nukem is a bit oblivious when he actually fails. A few times he actually will fail, but he thinks he will just act like, no, that was what it was intended to happen. So that's what it's going to be. And it was also kind of a way of making comment, kind of a satire of all the big macho movies that came out in the 80s and 90s. Kind of like one of those super guys that never actually failed at anything. Anyway, we all know that bad faith satire is. No, that's only you being a fucking retard who actually thinks that Duke Nukem is a bad faith satire. It is not, and I have no idea what bad faith is in this case, or anything at all in this context. Bad faith satire. Did you just poop out this term, or is it one of those obscure terms that SJWs create to define something that clearly does not exist, but they definitely want to comment and create a problem so they can sell you the solution, which is worse than the problem. But then again, SJWs, am I right? Defense of doing anything hurtful often involves deliberately exaggerating sexist, racist, etc. tropes. I don't see it as a problem. Look, the guy is making fun, poking fun, and doing funny things. I absolutely love it. In fact, I think it's one of the coolest things of Duke Nukem is the one-liners, the voice, and the interaction, and the beautiful babes. Hey, why can't we have fan services? Oh, I remember now. Only fan services for women is allowed. Anyway, proper satire has political point of view and cares about whether or not its audience is actually getting its message. No, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. For instance, Babylon Bee is one of the best satire websites out there, and they don't care if you get the message or not. It's your filthy problem if you're retarded enough to actually think the thing is real. Even The Onion, which is mostly left-wing satire website, doesn't even give a shit if you get the message or not. Because satire does not care to actually stop satirizing just to make sure the lowest on the bunch, the slowest idiots on the bunch, tries to catch up. They do not care. I do not care when I make fun of shit. If you don't understand the joke, sure, depending on my time and how cheeky I'm feeling, I'm gonna stop and try to give a hand to you and see if you can catch up with the rest. But if you don't, fuck you, I'm not even going to bother. Anyway, this is one of the major reasons why comedian Dave Chappelle famously packed up shop when he noticed too many white people were laughing at his sketches about race for the wrong reason. And now. Yeah, but then again, he returned to make a satire and mock you filthy idiots on his latest stand-up comedy. Not comedy. Comedic stand. Jesus, English, you illiterate retard. On his latest comedic stint, he started to mock you imbeciles. Anyway, even though it wasn't his fault, he did care enough to adjust his output so he didn't contribute to a larger ecosystem of toxic meaning. Did you actually watch his latest stand-up comedic show? Because it doesn't look like it did. This is the opposite of what we often see, which is creators knowingly profiting off their ironic work being taken unironically. At that point, you're becoming a thing you criticize. Go fuck yourself. Dope nuking is a kind of a patient zero for this in games. Not necessarily the first, but certainly the most concentrated stand-up of hyper-masculine tropes in a single package. So, what's the problem? I'm not seeing the problem here. It's no accident that he appeared in the 90s, the decade that invented the bad faith satire. What? I don't think the Duke Nukem is a bad faith satire, and I don't think bad faith satire even exists. Just because you're too retarded to actually understand what satire means, or what satire is, and what type of trope Duke Nukem is poking fun of, doesn't mean that it's bad, it just means that you're retarded. That's all. Someone more invested than me could surely pinpoint the exact season The Simpsons went from being a critique on middle-class America to a grotesque collection of tropes and references without a target, but it might have been around the time Duke Nukem 3D was released. No, it started to go downhill as soon as they started to pander to SJWs. And for me personally, probably around mid-2010s. That it went really downhill. It started going downhill in mid-2005s, but it was still okay. But mid-2010s, that's when it really went downhill. Because they started to pander to SJWs. And when you do that, the show goes downhill. Remember Apu? Yes, they cancelled the poor Apu. Because apparently, after all, showing a hard-working immigrant in America is racist somehow. Anyway, let's move on. It was a decade when blood, sex, and foul language not only found their way into more video games, but became their selling points. And that's bad because... Oh, I get it. You're a Neo-Puritan. You're not... When Puritans have become Neo-Puritans, they pretty much want the same thing. The only difference is the reason why they're feeling offended. For instance, the old Puritan, the old school Puritans, they felt offended because it would offend Jesus. Well, in that case, they would still be offended. The only reason why they got offended, or the excuse they used, was because of Jesus. The Neo-Puritans, they feel offended for something because, well, the excuse is social justice. The more things change, the more they stay the same. This is the reason why. Vice, if Vice was created back in the days, we would classify it as a very, very puritanistic website with a very Puritan writer. Imagine being offended by the female form. Imagine being offended by blood. Imagine being offended by foul language. Imagine that. Ha, this is quite fascinating, isn't it? Puritans, the more they change, the more they stay the same. Duke Nukem was arguably the lowest variant of this, the gaming equivalent of a 12-year-old boy proclaiming his impeding manhood by drawing boobs in his textbook. So, what? What's the problem on that? Oh, right. You can actually show your appreciation of the female form. I get it. It's because it's against Jesus. Oh, sorry. It's against social justice. I kind of start getting confused between both of them. Confusing, isn't it? Anyway, theoretically, a Duke Nukem 3D targets audience. No, because you're a Puritan and you're never its target audience. When it came out in the 1996, I loved movies like Army of Darkness and Aliens. I had played and enjoyed Doom and Wolfenstein, and yeah, I liked the boobs. I don't know, I'm gonna press X on that one. I'm pretty sure you don't like boobs. You probably like dicks. On the other hand, I had cried during the Final Fantasy VI, and mainly liked RPGs and adventure games. I had just played Full Throttle, which was based on a lot of the same hyper-masculine tropes as Duke Nukem, but managed to avoid over-toxicity. Well, apparently you're okay with female hyper-toxicity. Or hyper-feminine toxicity. You're okay with that, aren't you? Anyway, it felt embarrassing even to my pre-feminist 1990s boy brain. You know, this is allegedly, and just an allegedly, it's that when there's a male feminist or something like that, or a male feminist ally, we usually know that they have quite a few skeletons hidden in their closet, and when they do that, is that they are kind of a predator in disguise. So, feminist allies, male feminist allies, we know they are kind of rapists, sexual pests, and other things like that, allegedly. Let's move on, because this guy is a retard. Anyway, Ash with Suspense, while this hardly makes the character more progressive, it still portrays masculine vulnerabilities as something to laugh at. Bruce Campbell became a Jackie Chan vulnerability to the role that offsets a lot of the macho bullshit, which is the explicit basis for its comedy. What is wrong in having a macho personality? Is that something wrong? Because... oh, right. I get it. It's bad because it offends your fifis. But apparently it's a-okay to having a hyper-feminine personality or a dyke personality. It's a-okay. Right. I call bullshit on your article, but... I remember the idiotic one-liners spoken with the panache of a phone answering service. Oh, so you're ditching on that actual voice actor delivery. Oh my. I remember the over-the-top blood, the comically big weapons, though they do beg the question of how Duke's over-the-topness differ from Doom's, which it basically doesn't. Well, in Doom, you didn't have too many voice. In fact, I don't think it even had voice acting in there, besides of the in Doom. On Duke Nukem, which you actually had even interactions and other things like that. Ah, you're a bit of a retard, aren't you? Let's jump on. By comparison, the guiding aesthetic of Duke Nukem 3D seemed to be Doom plus booze. I don't see anything wrong with that. The utterly gross sexism is really the only thing that distinguishes it at all. What sexism? I don't see anything sexist in there. I don't see anything sexist on Duke Nukem 3D. Oh right, remember, social justice warriors. While the old Puritans would find offensive the female form, that it would offend Jesus, in this case, they find social justice being offended for them. You know, the excuse. Anyway, I remember the strippers you can pay. I actually loved it. The softcore porn movies that abound on every screen. Well, it was mostly one kind of like an animated GIF or something like that. Well, GIF didn't exist back then, but still, it was really kind of funny. What I didn't remember were the extremely problematic alien references where you came across naked women begging for death encased inside alien parasites. I actually thought, you know what? I think it was problematic because I couldn't save those extremely beautiful women. If they were ugly bitches, I wouldn't even mind. I'll just leave them there rotting or just shoot them and not feel guilty at all. But they were beautiful women. Beautiful women that I couldn't save. And that for me was very offensive. So, you know what? I get him. Although for different reasons. Anyway, thinking you can just cherry pick loaded cultural symbols like this and arrange them willy-nilly without having to address any of their baggage is typical of masculine gaming culture zero accountability stance that claims bad faith satire as its persistent alibi. Well, I think that's just a word salad of somebody who does not get what gaming is, what is about. Somebody is making popcorn. And it's making me want popcorn. Anyway, I think this just means that you're a fucking imbecile that did not get what the game is all about. You know what? If you enjoy... I think you're just a retard. I was thinking here to give you a more in-depth comment, but I think this imbecile here will never even understand. I think if they added ugly women on the asking for help, kill me, well, I'll probably do the favor and not feel guilty about it. That's for sure. Anyway, at the end of the 90s, bad faith satire, you keep using this word, it's not really there. Was evolving. Shows like South Park. Oh yes, you're one of those people who got offended by South Park. Initially, South Park, the people who got offended were the old school Puritans, for the Jesus types. And now it's the social justice types that gets offended. Shows like South Park became adept at playing both sides of the fence. I absolutely love South Park because of it. They adopted a political point of view when it suited them and indulged in shock for its own sake when it suited them. In other words, they mixed bad faith and good faith satire, often leaving the audience with conflicting messages as to whether they were criticizing anything, and this is the sort of strategy that defined Rockstar and its imitators. Look, I think I understand what he means with bad faith and good faith. Good faith satire is when the satire is in favor of his opinions, of his narrative, and bad faith is when it criticizes him and his narrative. Ooh, I get it now. I get it. What a fucking imbecile that is, for sure. Grand Theft Auto 3 had little more to say than Duke Nukem. Well, it had a bit more because it was a more modern game, because it was released a couple of years later than Duke Nukem, you filthy imbecile. Anyway, then Duke Nukem, when it came to woman masculinity and violence, well, maybe because he had CDs when the Grand Theft Auto was released, and when Duke Nukem 3D was released, albeit they had CDs, but they weren't as widely implemented or as widely available as when Grand Theft Auto 3 was released. I remember when Grand Theft Auto 3 was released, you actually had more 3D to it, and you had a more powerful computer to run it. Meanwhile, Duke Nukem 3D, when it was released, you still had a lot of 2D sprites representing characters, and the computer wasn't as powerful as when Grand Theft Auto 3 was released. Ooh, I don't think you understand how things work here. You're an imbecile, aren't ya? Anyway, American hypocrisy. There were dozens more than awesome boobs, and awesome blood was the only real takeaway. I don't think that's any problem at all. It was the Sopranos 1 minute, Duke Nukem the next, and this was by design. So, this kept you off balance, constantly questioning whether it was satire or not. Dude, if you actually think this wasn't a satire or something like that, or something that you actually had to take it for real, I think the problem here is you. This is a video game, yet it's there to make you enjoy, to disconnect you from the real world, and for you to just enjoy some nonsensical crap. And it's not there to make it real. Yeah, if you actually think this is real, then I'm starting to think that Jack Thompson may actually be right, that games leads to violence if that's the problem. It is not. Gaming does not lead to violence. And that, my friend, it's you the problem. You are the problem. Coffee. Anyway, if you wanted to believe it was satire, all go stripper, but if you wanted to just all go strippers and watch people bleed after you shotgun them to death, the game did nothing to stop you. So, that's not a problem. If you are there just to enjoy the game experience, then sure. But what's the problem? That's not. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Again, social justice. Dude, I think you are just too fragile. If a game offends you, it means you're fragile. Anyway, this is essentially the landscape we live today. Game makers have not abandoned these toxic masculinity fantasies, but have just become much more adept at walking this line between satire and indulgence. Dude, that's not even a problem. Dude. What is wrong in pandering, giving some fan service to the main audience, the main people who actually buy these games? If you are making a game to pander to women, sure, you're okay to give them fan service. But then again, males are the ones who consumes this the most. Women, on the other hand, consumes quite a bit of movies, and it's about as the same as men, but But if you're going to make a movie to pander to women, then it's okay for you to pander to and give them fan service. But you don't understand that, do you? For you, the only fan service that should be pandered to are female and screw men, and when men doesn't buy the fan service, or, well, doesn't buy the content, you blame men. I'm pretty sure you're one of the filthy imbeciles who actually blamed men for not accepting the woke Terminator, the last Terminator movie to be released on as of 2021. You're probably one of the imbeciles or the idiots who actually blamed men that Charlie Angel's, the last movie, didn't sell well or was a total and utter failure. It was because of that, wasn't it? Because man. Anyway, we all know Duke Nukem is terrible garbage. No, Duke Nukem is an excellent game. Even Duke Nukem Forever, which was mediocre at best in regards to everything due to the time it took for it to be released. I think it was 3 engine switches, and that costed the game a lot. But still, I wouldn't classify it as terrible garbage. You know what I would classify as terrible garbage? The Last of Us 2. That was absolutely terrible garbage. That was utterly terrible garbage. Another terrible garbage was Marvel Avengers, but I'm pretty sure you think it was the latest and the best biscuit, the best cookie in the jar. I'm pretty sure that was the case. Anyway, it's easy to point at Duke Nukem and say, oh well, we are not going to not doing that. The same way it's easy for the outright troll to point to a literal neo-Nazi and say, well, I'm not that. But you don't have to be that to be carrying on its legacy. You just have not to care whether your audience thinks you are. I think you are retarded if that's what you're thinking. I think you are an imbecile if you think that Duke Nukem is problematic or something like that. It's a game. You're there to enjoy it. It's only there for you to enjoy it as is. If you think that Duke Nukem is worse or terrible than Last of Us, then I think the problem here is you. Duke Nukem 3D is just there for... It's an excellent game. It's one of the best first-person shooters out there. It's because of what it is, and and this video is quite long. Jesus, 32 minutes, and I'm suffering with this tiny little screen with my sinus suffering with a shitty article. On that note, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because I'm definitely suffering here for you. Stay here on youtube.com/Dr. Jester if you want more tame content. And when I get my new screen, head to minds.com/Dr. Jester for those spicy little contents. Because I'm definitely wanting to tell this idiot, the imbecile who wrote this article, a few things here and there. Because why would you shit on Duke Nukem? Really? It's one of the best games in this generation ever. And why? Because it not only shits on idiots like you, because for Duke Nukem, you're just a little soy boy who would just laugh at your perceptions, at your ideas. He thinks you're a filthy communist, and quite frankly, I have to agree with Duke Nukem on that regard. Because you are a fragile little commie, somebody whom we'll all laugh at. Because imbeciles like the guy who wrote this article are just too fragile. They are too weak. And that's why we mock them. Maybe these people needed to be bullied as kids. Anyway, on that note, thank you for watching. Good night. I'm sorry, but the MFD that I use for this, it's on the audio side because I need the tiny little screen and it was using it. Oh, okay, using it as a button thingy. Anyway, bye bye. Good night.